Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Recompile. Ever since this game got announced on Steam, I've been waiting patiently for it to be released. You know these kind of games, right? You see the trailer, you're immediately captivated. Maybe it's the characters, maybe it's because it's the sequel to a franchise you love, or maybe it's the big fat juicy plot you don't find the sauce for. Anyway, there is always something that lets your mind focus on the product, and you will only be satisfied when you can finally play it. So I anticipated, waited, and then I played it. I do like Metroidvanias a lot, they're in my top 5 gaming genres ever, but just being a Metroidvania is not enough to pique my interest. What sold me here were the visuals and the idea of controlling a rogue program which is trying to take down Apple and its overlord AI. Yeah, I wish. Anyway, I got so many questions. How do you portray a motherboard from the inside? What's the database look like? There are so many routes you could take this down and, well, it seems like the team behind Recompile took the Tron approach, which is a highly influential movie that was praised for its visual effects back then. And I think they nailed the aesthetics. On first impression, it looks spectacular. Every single space is vast in size, making me feel dwarf, nay, bug-like in comparison. Light-based animation, glowing circuitry everywhere, lasers flying around, and my personal favorite, the glitch effect. Since I move within a distorted AI, it's only natural that some data might be scrambled. But as soon as I get closer, the surroundings get repaired and I can see the data behind the veil. And sometimes, I wish I didn't. But Jesus Christ, sometimes the lights make it really hard to see anything. It's like having a 10,000 watt lamp shining in your face. I am all for atmospheric lighting, but in some places these artificial suns could be dialed down to moonshine levels, and I think that would be better overall. Nevertheless, the game is a feast for the eyes. Every section features a unique theme with a dominant color. The antivirus sector is red, naturally, and keeps the player on their toes by sending bots after them. The hex database is covered in an ominous green and full of circuitry and weird structures. But as everyone knows, looks can be deceiving. So, does this game hold any value, besides looking pretty? If you ever played a Metroidvania before, then you know what you're getting into. Basically, all of them follow the same formula. We start the game heavily underpowered, and by exploring new regions we can find power-ups, which enable us to traverse new areas. Those areas hold a bunch of different power-ups which unlock more areas, and after a while we become badass incarnate and everyone's our bitch. Believe it or not, there's a mathematical equation for this. Fun equals exploration times power-up, or in short, FEP. And the best executed FEPs provide most fun, naturally. Now, what most people don't realize is that a good FEP requires a lot of planning, designing, and well, you gotta pace it right. Too many abilities might bring the FEP to a premature end because there's just too much force for not enough level. Too much exploration with scarce rewards in between might become boring, turning your hard rock resolve to play this game into a limp thought of casualness. Now, I didn't have any resolve issues playing Recompile, I pretty much blasted through it in 6 hours, but I would lie if I said this was a perfectly executed FEP. And there's no easy way to put this. The core problem this game has is that the pacing is off. Way off. And in turn, other issues follow. Let me walk you through my experience. At the beginning, Recompile follows the Metroidvania formula to a T. We started out so weak I can't even take on the first enemy and have to hide from it until I find my first weapon. But once found, my gun enables me to fight toe-to-toe with these companion cubes and also tarnish some firewalls which open up a new path for me. This way I am able to enter the hub area of the game, where I have the choice of exploring the first 2 already unlocked areas, the hex database or the security systems. And of course I go for the security systems first, because I hope for some action, and that's exactly what I get. Within this zone I am able to find 2 more weapons, a flash step ability, which can also be used to ram into cubes. Without much of a problem I'm able to reach the end of the area where my first test awaits. This is nothing short of a Dark Souls fight. One wrong move and you get one shot by the flames. But with a little experimentation which involved underclocking the whole system, I'm able to beat the amalgamation and receive another prize. A grenade launcher which when fired causes everything to... I should have known, it's even in the name. Needless to say, I was content with my loot and made my way back to the Hex database where I discovered a different kind of challenge. Now the game turned from a shooter to a jumping experience with puzzle elements. The puzzle design is aesthetically intricate and interesting, and I think you can only understand the true beauty of these Windows 95 screensavers when you're enrolled in the Programmer's Guild yourself. Usually there's an elevator or a bridge that needs to be fed some power from a circuit. So I trace back the power lines to find what can only be described as your kid's first wiring job. And I know what you're thinking. How am I supposed to find the right combination of switches? Answer:
you don't.
You get the hacksaw upgrade and bypass that whole shit by manipulating the logic gates which direct the power flow. Only now they redirect it to where you want it to go. Never mind the spaghetti code back there, just like in many other regions of my life, I do it quick and dirty. I do that a couple of times and hey, do you remember when this game had companion cubes to fight? Because apart from exactly 2 places, the Hex database is barren of any competition. Why do I carry these weapons again? Oh, right. Alright, I opened up another area, the comm station. But what in the fragmented homework folder is up with this area? Where are the puzzles? Where's the combat? Is the only thing you want from me now to jump good? Why then do I have a literal blue screen of death in my hands? Why do I still have the ultimate hacksaw ability when I don't get to use it? The most I do with that in the last area is turn one circuit on. Where are the puzzles which increase in difficulty that test my skill? Are you really telling me that I need those specific skills only for their specific levels, mostly, and then they become nearly obsolete? I didn't know it yet, but another shortcoming of the game was about to reveal itself to me. Whenever I fall, I only lose 10% health, but the real cost of misplacing a jump is paid in time. No kidding, I can speedrun making myself a cup of tea while the program slowly but surely plummets to its death. I timed it. In later stages, it takes as long as the PlayStation 1 boot sequence. Okay, you know what? This won't cut it for me. I appreciate the fact that every zone is defined by demanding different things from you, but it feels like you sit in an algebra class for 1 hour, then you change to history, and finally to sports. The different levels feel disjoint from another, with just a bare minimum of intersection between them. And this is probably the biggest issue I have with the game because I see what could have been. In other Metroidvanias, the level design feels way more coherent. No matter where you go, you never get the feeling of switching to another world. In one part, this is of course achieved by maintaining the art style, but also through the abilities you use. Ori and the Blind Forest, for example, feature sections that you can only travel through if you mastered nearly all the abilities you gathered before the point you are in now. From a psychological point of view, it feels like you're diving deeper and deeper into an increasingly hostile world, which you are barely ready for. Wherever you go, it constantly and repeatedly asks you to prove your worth or die trying. The world becomes coherent through these challenges. This approach also makes it fun to go back to an already visited area which had that one tiny spot you could not explore because you were missing a single power-up. Ori and other Metroidvanias, for that matter, pride themselves on using this holistic approach, mechanically and artistically, to create a coherent world. And while I do see the artistic vision in Recompile, I do not feel the mechanical coherence. which hurts the overall experience. With a few minor exceptions, you're able to complete an area and get your hands on every goodie there is to find in there, and that takes away the need to return ever. It also doesn't help that we basically have only one type of enemy to fight, namely companion cubes, which appear in minor variations. We got the sharpshooter who tries to whack you from afar, the super annoying flying block, which is actually pretty deadly when left alone, and the ghost of the 21st Flamethrower Division from 1914. Sure, like in any good Metroidvania, your options of destruction escalate to the point of unstoppableness, but since the basic enemies are so weak to begin with and stay that way, it doesn't feel earned. I think I made it clear that the game has some serious shortcomings, but I also have to admit, when it clicks, it clicks. For example, I was blown away by the minimalistic story approach. As I rummaged around the guts of the AI, I was able to salvage some data cubes and other lost files, which made me contemplate whether we humans deserve to live or die. The answer will surprise you. Recompile tells the story of a research team made up of 5 highly trained individuals who all start to abuse, or at the very least, misuse the AI for their own gain. And as you gather the pieces of dialogue between the crew members, it becomes blatantly apparent why the AI is so hellbent on destroying our little program and why the inner world of the AI is so confusing and scattered. Even though I take serious issue with the gameplay part, I can't help but fall in love with the artistic vision and criticism the game evokes. The story alone gave me the drive to collect every little dialogue piece, which netted me the best ending as a reward, which is hella nice. But then again, all you really need to do to get this ending is revisit the earlier stages and just fly towards the data cubes you missed, because now you got a jetpack with unlimited fuel. I would have wished for more challenges here. Maybe some more puzzles, maybe a time attack where I have to hold out until an alarm I activated gets deactivated again. But for the most part, everything can be collected by jumping or flying. The other tools I acquired are heavily underused, and that makes my heart bleed a little. The funny thing is, I like flying around in this wasteland of a computer. The atmosphere invokes feelings of loneliness, somber contemplation, and strangely enough, the will to explore. Which is in no small part thanks to the music, which underlines these feelings masterfully. The music and the sound effects are another thing to simply adore in Recompile. The fights at least sound fantastic, the weapon effects feel powerful, but what got me the most was simply standing around and admiring the scene while listening to the tracks. And quite frankly, paired with the story, that was enough to keep me going till the end. I can definitely say that Recompile is not worth playing if you're looking for a true test of skill. But it will be worth your time if you consider this as not so much a Metroidvania and more as a linear walk through an outlandish architecture that hides a short story worth exploring. Thank you for watching, and see ya.